the State of AI in SEO 2025 edition. Hello and welcome to the February 2025 edition of the Majestic SEO panel, where we're discussing the state of AI in SEO. I'm your host, David Bain, and joining me today are 5 great guests. So let's find out who they are. Let's start off with Garrett.
Hey everyone, Garrett Sussman, the Director of Marketing at agency iPullRank. We offer SEO, content strategy, and generative AI services, and been kind of neck deep in all this AI googly gop. So excited. Thanks for having me today, David.
Googly gop. There we go. That's the word of today so far. Let's see if we can beat that one. Also with us today is Pam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Aungst Cronin of Pam and Marketing and Stealth Search and Analytics. And coming this year, Pam and AI as well. It's the first time I got to introduce that. So super excited about being able to offer AI services now, too.
Ooh, interesting, intriguing. Thank you so much for joining us, Pam. Also with us today is TJ.
Hey, David, thanks for having me. Yes, I'm TJ. I lead the SEO at Mayflower. We do all things next generation entertainment and tons of AI-related topics. I'm super excited to share a couple of insights from my learning so far.
We'll be super excited to hear that as well. And also with us today is Katarina.
Hello, my name is Katarina Dahlin. I'm a senior growth hacker at Genero, a leading growth marketing agency in the Nordics.
Katarina, thanks so much for
very excited to be here.
Very excited to have you here as well. So first time here, hopefully we won't put you off and you'll be excited and pleased to join future panels. But we'll see how you feel about that at the end of this session. Also with us today is another old hand, and that is Nitin.
Thank you, David. Yeah, super excited to be here. Looking forward to this conversation. Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm Nitin. Have been practicing SEO for the last 12 years and have been spending a lot of time on AI these days, like everyone else. And yes, looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely looking forward to it too. So let's start off by asking Garrett the first question. In fact, we'll ask everyone this question, but we'll get Garrett to begin. And that is, how would you summarize the state of SEO in 2025?
You know what? There continues to be a lot of noise and very little signal, or I should even say a lot of signal. It's very overwhelming still. There's a lot of changes. Every day we're getting new models, we're getting changes in search behavior. I think there's a lot of volatility. It's never been more exciting. There's a lot of tools at our disposal. However, there's also a lot of misinformation out there. And so I think as SEOs and marketers, we're doing our best to keep our heads above water, to leverage this tech and not succumb to just the overwhelming nature of it.
Lovely. I always look at the panel faces to see who's nodding or shaking their heads. And Nitin, you were doing a bit of nodding when it came to Garrett talking about the volume of tools and options out there at the moment. Nitin, how would you summarize the state of AI in SEO?
Oh, yes, I 100% agree with everything that Garrett mentioned. And I think since I started SEO, it was always changing. And we were hearing like, this year is probably, where we have the most volatility. And now if you talk about last couple of years, everything has been changing. Everything, right? And if you talk about SERP as well, right? So I was working with brands where ranking 1, they were getting 16 CDR, and now at the same position they're getting 5%, and they're happy about it, right? Because there is a lot of things changing, and we as a users, our search behavior has been changing a lot as well, right? We are not looking for that chain of keyword searches or like search queries to find what we're looking for. We just want one prompt and a perfect answer. So a lot has been changing, and I think it will keep changing, like Garrett mentioned. And I'm super excited about what is happening and how it's evolving.
We've got Leslie saying in the chat, hi all, thanks for doing this. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast, try and turn up live next time and interact a little bit, ask your own questions, what's going along, majestic.com/webinars if you'd like to sign up for the next live one. But it's good to have you on the listening audience afterwards if that's what you're doing. Katarina, how would you summarize the state of AI in SEO?
I would say that, well, if we last year everyone has at least experimented with ChatGPT and maybe found their own ways of working. But this year, I think we will move more into automating things and taking those things that we are doing in ChatGPT or another tool, and just trying to automate as much as possible. I think that's the thing.
That's the key, isn't it? Knowing what to automate, knowing what to actually add value to, and use your human hands for. It's
and
it's always
knowing
changing, I guess.
how also.
How to automate, how to automate effectively without making a mess of what you're doing.
Yeah, and find it everything is still new. So
yeah, everyone's discovering at the same time, aren't they? There aren't any definite best practices that everyone should follow.
No, I think everyone is just trying to find their own ways of working and things. But
Pam, how would you summarize the state of AI in SEO?
Well, what I've been thinking a lot about is zooming out to kind of the 30,000-foot view and just looking at the big picture of how traditional search engines keep adding more and more AI. So like Google adding AI overviews to the top of the search results. And if we could say traditional, they haven't been around that long, but traditional AI tools like ChatGPT are now adding in web search functionality. So, and then now there's also AI search engines coming out like Perplexity. So basically, like with search integrating so much AI and AI integrating so much search, it's just all morphing into one new thing, like AI powered search. People are like, how? I mean, even the title of this, like, how is AI affecting SEO? AI and SEO, I don't think for very much longer we're going to be talking about them as two independent things. I think it's going to be more like SEO is now AI, or AI now searches the web. Like, it's just one thing now.
It's incredible how fast it's evolving, and how quickly SEOs need to evolve with that. And I guess it's always the question, what is SEO, and is SEO still a relevant term for what SEOs do as well? Maybe a slightly different topic, but we've got loads of people watching live as well. We've got Marcus actually watching from China, which is great. Greetings from China. Looking forward to the session. So hopefully we'll touch on DeepSeek as part of the state of AI and SEO. Got Stephen saying AI is fine, saves me time, bad at SEO, but it does some things right. Vlad saying, well, just giving us a round of applause. I'm not sure who was getting the round of applause there. Baidu also as well added AI overview, says Marcus as well. So much happening. It's hard to cover absolutely everything. TJ, just before we get on to specific topics, how would you summarize the state of AI in SEO?
Well, it's been a year since I last spoke with you about the state of AI. And back then it was all about, using traditional models that OpenAI gave us, which was the 3.5 back in the day. And now you have 4.0, and you also have like the latest model called the 0.1. And now there's also the 0.3, which is the reasoning model. I feel like this is kind of groundbreaking because it allows the AI agent to take its own time to, understand implications before it spits out an answer. I think this is definitely going to be groundbreaking for us from an SEO point of view, because when we bring in the aspect of AI agents into the picture, you can, fine tune a lot of AI to be tailor focused for your SEO work. So let's talk about, product descriptions for e-commerce sites, right? The traditional way is just ask for ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to spit out an answer. But now you can actually give it a list of constraints. You can give it a list of your own data for it to learn. And then it can learn and reason, within itself before it gives you an answer, which makes it a lot more smarter, a lot more intuitive in terms of the output that you get. So I feel like the true power of AI has gotten significantly a lot more better in terms of overall output. And the true power, if I may, lies in how you prompt. So I feel like the state of AI in 2025 and 2026 going forward comes or boils down to how you structure your prompts, how do you structure your thinking process in laying out, how you want to execute AI around you. You can automate it. You can use it for content. You can use it for log analysis. There's plenty of use cases that we can use AI for. So I feel like 2025 and 2026 has significantly improved versus 2025, and I feel like this is just going to like accelerate and get a lot more awesome, if I may, in the coming months and years.
I love what Leslie's saying in the chat. Leslie's saying AI is an electric knife, basically. Don't leave it by itself, you'll destroy everything. But use it with your hands and check the work, and you'll chop meat 10 times faster. So 100% there is saying to what TJ was saying as well. Katarina, you were talking a lot about automation, and the key is to know what to automate. So how do you know what to automate, and what tools do you use to assist with that automation?
So I have an e-commerce site, and I basically started to automate the optimization of product descriptions, because that is annoying to do manually and you just need help of AI. So yeah, but also what TJ was saying, that the prompting is the most important one also in that. But yeah, I built that in the Make, so an automation
So
flow.
make.com you're referring to. So what is that,
Yeah.
if anyone hasn't used it, and how do people best use that?
It's kind of a tool where you can connect different applications to each other without having to know any code. So it's a no code platform. So basically, I have all my product data that I would need to optimize, or to optimize with ChatGPT. I have that in a spreadsheet, and then I just with Make I connect ChatGPT to the Google Sheet, and building a workflow. So then it will just read the data in the spreadsheet, and the ChatGPT will write an answer and just put it back in the spreadsheet. And but you can also connect other, basically almost anything like Shopify or WordPress or Search Console.
So it sounds like Zapier, but with AI and web development in there as well.
Well, yeah, you can connect many different apps. I have connected and used the ChatGPT, so yeah.
Okay. And how do the prompts work then with the ChatGPT? Do you still have to actually make the prompts within ChatGPT itself, or is it because of the fact that it's connected to another app using make.com, it means that it's getting the prompts directly from the other app somehow?
So it basically works like the same way, that it's easier if you first go to the ChatGPT and just build your prompt and just test it there and see how it works. And when it works well, you can build the same thing, but you do it straight in Make, so that you can connect it with spreadsheet or directly to the website if you want. But it's basically the same. It's just in the Make app.
And TJ, you were talking about prompts as well. You're talking about the importance of getting prompts right. So what is good prompt practice in 2025?
Yeah, that's a great question, David. So I feel like in order to get the best possible output from AI, you have to be a subject matter expert on that topic which you're working on. Because AI by itself is not smart by definition. It can only be smart powered by somebody that's pushing the right prompts to it, so it can give you the right information. If you come from a point of not having enough knowledge, but asking AI to come up with advanced topics, there's plenty of opportunities for it to hallucinate, break down, give a lot of misinformation, which you then treat it as potentially true information. And then you just have a mess in your hands, right? So I feel like in order to get the best possible output when it comes to prompting, you also should define how you want to lay out the grand vision, so to speak. When you want to build out any topic, when you want to use AI. Just to give you an example, right? So I wanted to understand how I could use AI for my keyword research, for defining a content brief and producing content. If I came from a point of view as a newbie SEO, there's plenty of opportunities to leave room for AI to define how it should potentially be done, which cannot be as effective as possible. But because we have enough experience among ourselves and this panelists, we can clearly define what the constraints should be, what should the sequential flow of prompting should be, so that you get the best possible output that you can from AI. So it's really important when we use AI that the person using it knows what prompts to write up so that you get the best possible output. So yeah, I feel like anybody who is the prompt master will definitely win the AI game for sure.
So to get the best possible outcome, as you said there, is it necessary to use a custom GPT, or can you do that as long as you prompt well using a fairly generic tool like OpenAI?
Yeah, it really depends upon the use case, right? So if you want to talk about let's say that you want to create like a persona that to chat with you, right? You can use a relatively simple LLM to like define how the chat should be like with the AI person mimicking to be a personality. But if you want to use LLM for, let's say, how you should pull in the stock market data in real time and then put it onto a chart.js to visualize it, and then make sure that you get an alert on Slack anytime there's an anomaly in terms of like NVIDIA stock performance, for example. So in that scenario, you definitely need to have the best possible prompting with an expert in finance, for example, along with you, so that you can make sure that the level of output you get is quality in nature.
So I know that you want to share a lot about AI agents as well, TJ. But just before we get to that, maybe let's go to Nitin first. Nitin, I know that you think there's been a bit of a change in search behavior because of LLMs. So how would you summarize that?
Oh yeah, massive change. Yeah. So I think if I talk about my personal example as well, maybe 3 years ago when I was searching on Google, I had a different search style, but now it's like I'm not thinking about 2 or 3 word search, especially when I'm looking for something which is more on informational intent, right? My prompts are rather big. If I'm planning a trip to Paris, I would just go there. I would say planning a trip to Paris with my family. I have 2 kids, 8 and 4, right? Plan to cover things which are must do, plus I want to keep it like very family friendly as well, so I want to also explore some nature and all of that. So when I do this, right, the itinerary I get is very close to what I would actually want to do, right? So there, not just this, I would probably add something more, like also give me recommendations about where exactly I should be staying. I get everything that I want, right? So it is working as my personal assistant more than just a search engine, or yeah, you call it like LLM search engine, whatever you call it, right? But it is now behaving more more of my personal assistant than anything else. So that is the biggest change I'm talking about. We have been working with a lot of brands which are getting a lot of visibility from the US. And because right now it's pretty aggressive in the US versus the other markets. So we see a lot of change as well, massive increase in zero click as well. But our clients are happy because if, for example, they were getting 10,000 sessions before, and that was converting to 100,000 US dollars as business, right? Now they're getting, for example, 8,000 clicks from that cluster, right? But the conversion is even better. It's not 100,000, maybe 120,000, because all those clicks, which were just landing on the landing pages and for some information and then bouncing off, now we are just cutting on that, because now it's more qualified clicks that you're getting on the website, because people who are looking for basic information, maybe they're on the top of the funnel of their journey, right? They are getting all the answers there itself. And when they're in consultation phase, or rather bottom of the funnel, right, that is when they're landing on a website, getting more information, checking reviews, ratings, all of that, and then converting. So this change is huge. And I also did like a quick survey to understand how people are consuming LLMs, right? It is consistent pattern 99% of the cases. There are 1% cases where they still believe they have questions about data, privacy, all of that, right? But 99% of the users are pretty comfortable with how they're searching, and the applications are also pretty similar.
Great. Okay. Brendan saying in the chat, great point, Nitin. I know. So I'm not sure which point he was referring to, of course, but the point that you came up with that really interested me was LLMs and actually people perceiving it as a personal assistant. And does that mean that you think the future of search is actually morphing into being a personal assistant, and Google perhaps as well morphing into being a personal assistant as opposed to search engine?
Oh yes, 100%. And I think the good part about this personal assistant is it's not limited to certain vertical or expertise. You throw, like they just mentioned, like if you give a right prompt, you get the right answers. So another, for example, right? If I talk about Bot Presto, when I started, I was the only one who was from engineering background. Like I started my professional journey as software engineer. And now, 4 years after, I have a team of 25, and I think almost everyone can code in Python, which is crazy. And they're writing a lot of micro crawlers to solve their problems, which is fascinating. Even on weekends, I get pings that, hey, we're working on this and we solve this way. It's awesome. Something where you were spending probably 10 hours before, now it can be done in 10 minutes maximum. That is also including the time that you're spending with ChatGPT to find a solution. So it's fabulous the way it's evolving, and I see it evolving further. So yeah, exciting times for sure.
Pam, we briefly talked about DeepSeek earlier on in this discussion. It obviously shocked many people with the quality of what it could actually produce. What are your initial thoughts on that? And should Western countries, if we can call them that, perhaps consider banning tools where we're not sure where the data is going and who's learning as a result of it?
Whew, that's a loaded question. Where to begin? Well, so
I'll give you the easy ones.
Yeah. Okay, so DeepSeek, I think the number one, let me just start with like what I want to nail home. The number one most important thing to recognize about DeepSeek is that there's, and all AI, that there's a stark difference between a model or an LLM and an application that you use the model or the LLM in. So that difference, especially in the case of DeepSeek, is enormous, because if you separate the model, which is open source, they released it for free. You can download the entire thing yourself. You better have 50 terabytes of space available, but you can download the whole thing if you want and run it on your own computer with no internet. You can totally wall it off, or you can use it on the DeepSeek website or the DeepSeek mobile app. That's when you're using it through a foreign controlled application or website, is when your data is exposed to said owner of the application and whatever government their country is in. So everyone's freaking out over DeepSeek stealing data, blah, 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 blah. Well, what most companies that I'm seeing doing so far, Perplexity, instantly, surprisingly, are doing is integrating the model, not the application. So if you take the model and apply it to your own application, it's, from what I understand, and I'm not a software engineer, but from what I understand, I've been researching, and maybe someone with a software engineer background could correct me if I'm wrong, but the risk then of your data going to somewhere else, some other country, is if you download it yourself, like I said, you can run it without the internet. So once you're using the model as a standalone product, that risk is, I don't want to say gone, because again, disclaimer, I'm not a software engineer, but that's, I think, the most important thing to know. At least you can be sure that if you are using the DeepSeek mobile app or the DeepSeek website, then you are exposing your data to a company based in China, and therefore, because of their laws, potentially the Chinese government, because they do have the option in their laws to demand that any corporation based in their country has to turn over data if they say so. And that's where the whole TikTok ban thing was spawned from. And here's where I could rant on all day and night about how short-sighted that law was. So turning over to your point about banning things, if Congress wanted to do what they said they wanted to do, which is protect our data, they would have looked at the bigger picture and not written the law to apply only to social media apps. If you read it, it's basically the definition of a social media app. And it says, I don't even think they could ban DeepSeek under this TikTok law, because it says in the law, like it has to meet this criteria, and the criteria describes like posting social media content, consuming social media content, connecting with other users. Like it's not at all what DeepSeek is. So I don't even think they could ban it because that bill was spectacularly short-sighted and actually, in my opinion, intended for another purpose. Because like I said, if they really wanted to protect our data, knowing that AI is as pervasive in business and life as it is now, they should have taken that into consideration. But right now our hands are tied. So as far as banning things, should we be? Perhaps. Can we? Absolutely not. Not under these conditions.
So Pam, you mentioned the fact that if you use a tool like DeepSeek on their website, then you have less control over your data. So possibly a more pertinent question to get a feel for whether or not someone should be doing that is to ask you, would you use DeepSeek on their website?
Yes, and I have. Same as I use Xiaohongshu, the Red Note, the quote unquote Chinese TikTok, because I don't know. I think I'm falling into the category, especially because of the world I work in, that I just have data privacy fatigue, I guess you would call it. Like I'm so accustomed to my data being everywhere all the time. And just, I don't know, I guess it just doesn't bother me. I'm also not doing anything like sensitive, obviously. You know, the government needs to worry about this a lot more than I do. I really don't care if they know what recipe I'm making for dinner because I looked it up in DeepSeek. Obviously, if I'm using the application on my phone, then they might be getting more than what I'm making for dinner. So I downloaded the app to test it and play with it, but I will not be using it on my phone. And I mean, ultimately, if I decide I really want to use it, I will use the model alone by itself through a tool like make.com or Zapier. This is another world that's kind of morphing into one with AI is automation. I've been using Zapier actually for over 10 years to automate my business, but now they do have the app of ChatGPT in there. And you can, through an API, connect anything you want to it. So, you know, theoretically, I would not use DeepSeek's API on their server, but if I wanted to use it as a model, I would use it in an environment like that where you can select the model itself and you trust the company that's hosting it for you.
So if Zapier now have ChatGPT, then is there any reason to use make.com over Zapier?
So I, being a decade plus long user of Zapier, I tried make.com and it seemed like a foreign language to me. I see it does the same thing. It does the same thing, but just how it does it feels so not intuitive to me. So I guess it's just like kind of like if you're an Android person or an Apple person, like you just kind of can't operate in the other world effectively. I feel like that. I'm born and raised with my automation life in Zapier, and I just make.com. A lot of people say it's easier to use, and I think the graphical interface is better. The user interface is better, but yeah, no, I fumble around in there. But essentially, they both do the same things. There's some slight differences in what apps they offer and the functionality you can do through those apps, but it's the same thing. For anyone wanting to start out, I'd say play with both.
Garrett, Nitin talked about search turning into a personal assistant. What does this mean for conversational search? What are the differences that you're currently seeing in terms of the way that people are interacting with LLMs, and how does this lead to changes in the SEO strategy that someone should have?
Yeah, there's a lot of big picture kind of strategy we need to think about in the world of SEO. So a couple of important points. One is Google still has 90% market share when it comes to search. So when we're talking about channels like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, things like that, it's still very minimal, right? That's not to say that it can accelerate extremely quickly where we'll see search behavior change in that respect. I'd say in terms of the people who do use it, it extends beyond the typical way that we use keywords. When we go for Google search, as Nitin really well explained, we are typically used to just putting in a keyword, email marketing, pizza near me, things like that. With conversational search, our user behavior changes where we start to be able to talk in natural language, either conversationally, where we either start with a longer prompt, or we can go back and forth to refine the output to get what we're looking for. Now, as Pam mentioned, ChatGPT, including the search feature that you can turn on with your searches, gives this RAG, this retrieval augmented generation. So you're not getting output just based on what these models are trained on. It's going out, finding relevant sites, getting that information and including it in the output. So we have more of this real-time experience. Now, all that to say is there's an interesting study actually put out today by Semrush talking about how, interestingly enough, through clickstream data, people, when they turn on the search on ChatGPT, are still reverting to our traditional search behavior of like putting in the very short, not natural language types of searches, even though they're using ChatGPT. When they don't have search turned on, they're talking to it like they're talking to a person. I anticipate over time we'll move more towards that assistant sort of, if you ever seen the movie Her, being able to converse back and forth. These assistants and these environments are going to have better context of who we are. It's going to have more information. As Pam said, there's this trade-off, like your data is everywhere to some extent. If you want to engage in this tech and provide more information, you're going to get better results. If it knows where I am, what I do, what my interests are, I'm going to get more personalized, better results than, if you go and search on incognito and it has no idea. We know this. Now, they're integrating more tools like the AI agents, as TJ was mentioning. Like recently, ChatGPT just put in Operator, which allows basically ChatGPT to go to a browser and do things on the browser for you. Right now, the tech's not great, right? It takes a really long time to do a simple task and it messes up constantly. So while there's excitement there, it's hard to really go all in. Plus, like ChatGPT is like, you need to spend $200 a month to do it. And I don't know if the average person is going to be dropping that kind of cash unless they're getting it, from their business, or they're like us and they're experimenting. All that's to say, a lot of exciting things are happening. User behavior, search behavior is inevitably going to change. When we have that conversation a year from now, we might see a lot more people using these types of agents, like these personalized search experiences. Not 100% guarantee. Like the tech might hit a ceiling and we might just be like, this isn't good enough, or it's good enough, we're going to use it. But the implications for brands is now, how do you think about if you're not getting as much traffic from search? It's more of a brand visibility play, which we're seeing in conversations around SEO, is how much availability of market share of voice are you showing up? If you're not generating traffic, are you still being the recommended brand for consumer-based choices or consumer-based searches? So there's a lot to unpack there. And I think that the smart brands and smart agencies are starting to think about it without necessarily jumping all in, because going back to my original point, we're still talking 90% market share for Google. And even though they had their earnings report yesterday and said they're investing, significantly more, $75 billion more than the $60 billion they initially implied coming up in 2025, it's still their world. And they have a very strong moat that who knows if their market share is ever going to decrease.
So Garrett, when you talk about user behavior, search behavior changing with regards to interacting with LLMs on a conversational basis, are you talking about moving towards more voice search, or are we still being led by people typing into search engines?
That's a great question. So I think there are a lot of directions we'll go in terms of multimodality. I think like when we look at search results, sometimes we want a text response, sometimes we want a video. It depends on the use case. I've had a lot of interactions. Like I like the advanced voice on ChatGPT where I'm brainstorming back and forth and able to talk to it of how I want to build out, a webinar presentation or ideas or, podcast questions. Like we'll go back and forth via voice where that is more appropriate. When there's other times where I'll use a Canvas feature where I want to work in the text back and forth there. The other really interesting thing to pay attention to is something that Google is rolling out probably this year called Project Astra, which is the ability to use your video similar to Google Lens, where the AI can see all of the inputs around it, the audio, the video, be able to read and interact with your environment across different types of modes so that you have a completely different, experience. It's almost like Google Glass, but like making it fetch, like making it actually happen where people are going to use it. I think that that's going to be a different use case. And I remember last year when Google said they were rolling out Bard, or I guess a couple years ago at this point, we thought that search was just going to change. It was going to be AI, but they're like, no, we're rolling out 20 different products. And so we're going to have all these different AI use cases. Like we had Notebook LLM, which is, this way to interact with research. We have a deep research product that they've tied on to Notebook LLM. We've got the search product. We've got Gemini. There's just an overwhelming different types of tools, and mostly the best ones are coming from Google, although there are other players that we need to pay attention to.
Google Glass. It's crazy, but I actually remember Google Glass launching in 2013. So that's almost 12 years ago as we're speaking, which is quite incredible. TJ, we said we'd go back to you to talk about AI agents. So what are AI agents and how do we use them effectively?
Yeah, David. So AI agents on a very foundational level, right? They are just a small application layer where you feed in instructions on what you want to achieve. You create a series of agents, and they all work together to essentially accomplish a task for you. To put it in even more simpler terms, if you want to, let's say, find a Chinese restaurant find a list of Chinese restaurants in a 5-kilometer radius, you can define for one agent to look up search, to do the search on Google, and then you can have another agent to identify what's the distance from the point where you're searching from, and then you can also have another agent to put all this information together and give you a summarized summary of the information that you're looking for. So it's just a series of agents where you instruct them as to what their task is and what their expected output should be. One excellent platform that does this is the open source platform called as Crew AI. So with Crew AI, you can use their library to essentially define what those AI agents should be doing for your use case. You can assign tools to them. So you create so if you take the SEO use case, right, there is this, just going by personal experience, there is this company called Data for SEO that collates a lot of metadata from search, like SERP results, like API for search results by countries, by languages, and so on. You can connect to their API. You can create a tool using Python, which is super simple to code with. Create a tool, connect it to that API, and then assign that tool to a specific agent and say like, hey, I'm looking for the top 10 SERP results for Chinese restaurants in Georgia, for example. And then you take that information, send it to another agent, and you instruct that agent, okay, now that I have this data, create a summarized summary of the reviews, of the ratings, what else you want to do. And then you have another agent, if you want, you can define, to do another task for you. So AI agents is pretty much like, it gives you complete power as to how you want them to behave, how you want them to act, how do you want them to, output content for you. The vast majority of OpenAI agents still use OpenAI's API for all the connections, but you can easily use any other LLM out on the market to define your use case. So that's broadly what they do on a high level, basically.
Let's just go around the panel briefly and focus on the question, how do you know what to automate and what not to automate? Because you can do so much nowadays. It's very difficult to actually know what to automate and how to do it effectively, and perhaps what humans should still be doing. So Katarina, shall we start off with you? How do you actually decide what to automate?
Well, basically, I took this mindset into my daily work and just looking at my task and thinking, can I actually automate this? Is there a way? And sometimes I try and it just works out, and sometimes it's not. But I think you can yeah, you can automate a lot of things, but one thing that I still don't want to automate is to like just have the quality checks, like don't auto-publish things. I still want the human to like check the text or the content through before publishing.
Okay, that's a good tip there. Don't automate quality checks. Nitin, how do you decide on what to automate?
Yeah, I think wherever I see any patterns, I think about automation. And this is not like, in this AI era, but in general. So whenever I see like patterns, for example, content production for, let's say, hundreds and thousands of pages, right? I think about automation. Like what is common, what is not? And if it's common, like can I templatize it? Can I rely on programmatic SEO, or can I also bring in AI to some extent, right? So I think about automation wherever I see patterns, and that is, yeah, for me, rule of thumb since I started my career or even before that.
Garrett, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Nitin. Like kind of speaking to the patterns is we have to remember when we're talking about AI a lot in this context, it's machine learning, right? And so that's what AI is, machine learning is good at, is identifying those patterns. So it always needs a human anyway, but like classifications, it's really good at summarizations. There are a range of different use cases. What I'd say not to use it for is to replace critical thinking. I'm still skeptical about a lot of insights. It can point you in the right direction. It can shine a light on data, but it can't necessarily do the work for you. It's a tool, not a replacement. So I would say really right with Nitin in terms of pattern recognition and classifications.
And Pam, what are your thoughts?
Whenever I think of automation, I think of the word tedious. I want all things tedious out of my life, like things that are just repetitive and mindless and just not worth my time when I could be spending my time on much more strategic things. So for example, my best automation I've built to date is my client onboarding one. This used to take over an hour, 1+ hours to onboard a new client, because I have to put it in like all these different systems. We use Google Drive for storing our files. So copy of the proposal needs to go there. We use Slack for team communications. So I got to create a channel there. We use QuickBooks for billing. So you got to create a customer record there. That whole thing, I've used Zapier to automate. A new contract comes in via DocuSign. A copy is automatically uploaded to Google Drive via PDF. A teamwork project is automatically created for my team. A Slack channel is automatically created. A customer is automatically created in QuickBooks. And the invoice, it's look how long it even takes me to say all that. Like to do all that would take over an hour. And now it takes 0 minutes and 0 seconds.
0 minutes and 0 seconds. TJ, do you outsource or automate everything that's tedious?
I think it's a mix of both outsourcing and tedious, but like Pam mentioned, anything tedious should be automated. And like Nitin mentioned, 100% agree, right? You see patterns, you want to automate it. That's the way to go. And I mean, on a lighter note, when Pam mentioned tedious, I also thought about like folks that are now, coming up with AI girlfriend services. So if you have a real person that's tedious with you, you just go online and chat with your AI girlfriend or boyfriend, right? So I can see a lot of patterns and a lot of tedious also directly impacting our personal lives too. So I'm not sure how that's going to impact, years from now, but I already see the early stages of it.
Okay. Let's finish off by asking everyone the question, what will we be talking about when we record the State of SEO in 2026, hopefully in a year's time? So have a think about that particular question, and we can also finish off just reminding the listener who you are and where people can find you. So Katarina, shall we start off with you again? What will we be talking about when we record the State of SEO in 2026?
That's a difficult question, but I think there will be just a lot of new tools that we can use, and maybe it's just becomes easier to automate things. That's my answer.
Okay, lot of new tools. Just automate more. It's hard to predict. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's the thing.
So, Katarina, where can people find you, please?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm mostly active there. Yeah, just Google search for my name there. I probably show up.
Lovely. Thank you very much for joining. Nitin, what will we be talking about this time next year on the same topic?
I think we will definitely be talking about the core, right? Understanding user intent, what they're looking for, how the what kind of content presentation they would be looking for, right? AI is fancy, and I think we are talking about a lot of all those shining stones, right? It's easy to get carried away, and I think we need to really stick to the basics to understand what users are looking for and how their search pattern is, and how we can serve them the best possible content at the same time thinking about EAT and all of that. So sticking to the basics, I think, would be something that we would be talking about next year and maybe 5 years later as well. So
Okay, great.
that's my take on that. And you can catch me, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Nitin. Garrett, will you be talking to real David or AI David this time next year? And will you be able to tell the difference?
You know what? I'm going to be talking to the boardroom. This is the biggest opportunity for SEOs is to reposition ourselves in enterprises, in brands, as the having a seat at the table, because as AI and marketing and conversational search becomes a bigger conversation in its own right, we understand the best way to build that visibility. And so regardless, like wherever Google goes, more and more consumers are going to be using these tools. And so brands should listen to us in terms of how can we leverage all of the marketing we're doing to make sure that we're showing up. Because when you see Google search, it's going to be more dynamic. It's not going to be static. And we need to change the way we think away from this whole idea of keywords and more towards brand visibility, topics, and those types of paradigms. So, find me on LinkedIn. I'll be speaking actually in New York at the end of April at SEO week. But aside from that, I'm a LinkedIn guy these days.
Super. Thank you so much, Garrett. Pam, what are your thoughts on what we're going to be talking about next year?
So my crystal ball says that we're going to be talking about GAIO, which apparently is becoming a term, generative AI optimization, because I do think that the AI tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity are going to eat into Google's market share. It may not be tremendous at first, but small percentages of that market share do generate a lot of traffic. Our clients are already getting a decent amount of traffic from ChatGPT and Perplexity. So I can't even imagine how much that's going to grow over the next year. I mean, tech nerds like us, like, we're not surprised to hear each other say that, oh yeah, I've tried DeepSeek, I've tried this tool, I've tried that tool. But like, I hear non-techie friends saying like, oh yeah, I know Perplexity, I use it, I like it. Like, that keeps happening. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's really going to cut into their market share. And one thing that I don't hear a lot of people in the SEO world talking about right now is exactly how do we optimize for getting brands found in ChatGPT and Perplexity type generative AI tools. And I completely agree. The basics still very much apply, and we will be talking about that. I agree. But I think we're going to get into the more nuanced craft of GAIO. And to piggyback off the thought about sitting at the boardroom, that is like, we can be early adopters of GAIO, if that's the term it ends up sticking with. But it's going to be a thing, whatever we call it. And executives are going to be wanting to get their brand found in these tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity. So we as SEOs have an opportunity to be first to market, per se, as experts in how to do that. So I think we'll be talking about whether we call it that or not, GAIO.
Well, you mentioned Perplexity there. Brendan saying in the chat that I'm a total Perplexity evangelist.
So many more people use it than I ever would have thought. I personally don't like it. Yeah. I think it sucks. It gives me horrible results. Maybe it's just when I ask it, but...
And Dave's saying in the chat, thanks for the information. This was very helpful. GAIO in the generative AI snippet in Google is also an Italian word meaning cheerful, merry, or bright. So I think I prefer that version of the word, maybe. I'm not sure. But Pam, where can people find you?
So you can find me at pamandmarketing.com for all things marketing and SEO. And if you'd like to subscribe to my new AI newsletter, you can sign up for that at pamand.ai.
Lovely. Thank you very much. TJ, what are your thoughts on what we will be talking about when we record the State of SEO in 2026?
Yeah, David, I'm just going to say I don't know, but I can tell you that my travel niche site that I've been working on for the last year or so, right now I have 8 times more crawl from Claudebot, I have 20 times more crawl from Amazon bot, and I have 15 times more crawl on OpenAI's bot versus Google bot. So this tells me that these AI, tools are consuming a lot more information on my site than Googlebot does, which leads me to 2 potential outcomes. One, there's going to be an increased search availability from these platforms over time, and you'll see, like Garrett mentioned, like Nitin mentioned, like Pam mentioned, you're going to see a lot more conversational search queries coming up on those platforms as we go. The second thing is perplexity. I think this tool is going to be the challenger tool, which eats up the lions, even though it's a tiny percent of Google's market share. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because I haven't seen that level of crawl rates from AI bots before. And since they've started, they've been quite aggressive in how they're consuming content. So I'm already seeing tiny percentages of clicks coming in from these platforms, right? So is this only going to keep increasing? Is this, going to just shoot up or rocket up? I don't know. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how things play out in this coming year. But one thing's for sure, nothing's ever going to be the same. Everything's constantly changing. And I feel that acceleration will only keep accelerating a lot more faster. So it's just about how do we adapt and how do we, keep ourselves abreast with whatever is changing in the AI SEO field.
Also, Farhad saying in the chat, thanks Majestic for organizing a great live session on AI and SEO. And it's great to see people commenting from lots of different platforms. We people comment and interact from LinkedIn, from YouTube and Facebook today as well. So that was really good. Thank you. Keep on interacting next time. TJ, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'll be right there.
On LinkedIn. There we go. Short and sweet. I've been your host, David Bain, and you've been listening to the Majestic SEO panel. If you want to join us live next time, sign up at majestic.com/webinars. And of course, check out our other series over at SEOin2025.com. Bye-bye for now.